Hello, welcome. Today you're going to learn about U.S. immigration, back in the day all the way up to today. By the end of this video, you should be able to answer the three questions you see on the screen right now. What is the difference between cultural assimilation and pluralism? Can immigrants come to America for both push and pull factors? Explain. And finally, what are two challenges to becoming a U.S. citizen? So, in order to understand immigration and talk about it, there is some vocab that you need to be familiar with. When immigrants come to the United States, once they settle here, there are different ways that they can adapt to their new country. One is called cultural assimilation. That's when you come to America and you adopt the culture of your new homeland. You learn English. You dress like the Americans do. You eat hamburgers and hot dogs and barbecue and eat American food. That's cultural assimilation. Similar is kind of the root word in there. So immigrants come to the United States and they adopt, adapt, and become similar to other Americans. The opposite of that is cultural pluralism. This is when immigrants come to the United States and they become citizens and they plan to live here their entire lives, but they hold on to the culture of their country of birth, whether it be the clothing, the food, music, or all of the above. So these are two different ways that people can come here and live their lives in America. Assimilation, pluralism. Another term that you should know about when you talk about immigration is nativism. Okay, this is a policy or a belief of Americans who are already here about new immigrants. They have a mentality of being anti-immigration. Okay, so someone who's a nativist is against most immigrants coming to our country. And the reasons for that are several. One is ignorance of a new culture. If people come in who look and act and sound differently, that might make some people uncomfortable. Also, fear. They're afraid if too many new people come in, there won't be enough jobs for everybody. And finally, another reason for nativism is a desire to maintain the present culture. So that's nativism. Now, we have immigration broken up into time periods. You've got old immigration, new immigration, and modern immigration. Old immigration are the original settlers here, people who came here in the 1700s and the 1800s, up to about 1870, when the United States started to industrialize, a different group of immigrants come in, and that's when old immigration stops. These immigrants were mostly from Northern and Western Europe. They were British, they were English, they were German, they were Scandinavian. Many of them looked similar. They were mostly Protestant, so they had a lot in common, even though they were from different countries. New immigration is after the 1870s, usually considered up to about 1920. These immigrants came when the United States started to industrialize. We urbanized, cities grew very quickly, factories needed thousands and thousands of new workers every day, and the country had open borders. They needed immigrants to come here. And people started coming from different places. Many came from Southern and Eastern Europe, Italians came, the Irish came, Russians, the Chinese came across the Pacific, and America started to look different. Now everybody is not a white Protestant anymore. So why did so many immigrants come to the United States during the Great Migration, as it's called, with the new immigrants? Some of them were pushed out of their country. They left because of famine and war and persecution. So life in their country was so terrible, they were forced or pushed out of their country. Uh, the Irish had the potato famine, and there was mass starvation. That's one example of being pushed to come to the United States. So that is one general category of why immigrants came here. The other is that many immigrants were pulled here. They heard about the opportunities, the economic opportunities, the cheap real estate and democracy and freedom of speech, freedom of religion. They were pulled to come to the United States uh, because of the good things they heard that would happen once they got here. So it's pushed out of their country because of bad situation at home or pulled here because of the great things they heard about America. Okay, the nativism word that we mentioned. Many groups who came here during the new immigration period suffered from this nativism attitude. And one you see here, some signs that were very anti-Irish. When the Irish came here, many people were persecuted them. One of the reasons is that many Irish are Catholic. So Catholic and Protestant are all Christians, but they have some different beliefs. And there was a pushback against the Irish, the Italians. Many Italians were not even considered white. People who come from the island of Sicily, which is part of Italy, are much more olive-skinned. So people here in the United States did not even consider them to be white, of the white race. In fact, when lynching happened in the 1920s down in New Orleans, Italians also were lynched. Then you have the Chinese that were seriously persecuted. The in Back in China in 1852, there was a crop failure and mass starvation, and in 1 year, 20,000 Chinese came here to America for jobs to work, and they looked very different than other immigrants. They sounded differently, they dressed differently, and there was a huge pushback against Chinese immigration to the point that they made the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. This was the first law really barring a group of people from immigrating to the United States. And this went on for 60 years. In 1902, the Chinese immigration block was made permanent, and Chinese immigrants could not become citizens until 1943. Now we're on to modern immigration. So modern immigration has a turning point in 1965 with the passage of the Immigration and Naturalization Act. This changes the face of immigrants once again. Prior to this time, America had something called a quota system, where they would allow a certain number of people from different countries to come here to the United States. And it was a way to discriminate against countries that they did not want many immigrants from. They would keep the quota very low. Once this Immigration and Naturalization Act passes, there are no more quotas. So once again, the face of immigration changes. So here's what modern immigration looks like. As you can see, before is on the left-hand side, after is on the right-hand side. And if you take a look at the pie chart, over 50% of immigrants in the 21st century are Latino. So this is, again, a change in what America looks like. 26%, also a very large number, is from South and East Asia. So the United States over time with immigration has continually changed. So if you come to the United States, how do you become a citizen of the United States? What do you have to do to be a citizen? Well, there are four different ways that you can become or be a citizen. The first is very simple. If you are born in the United States of America, you are a citizen, ever since the 14th Amendment after the Civil War. Another way to become a citizen is to be adopted by U.S. citizens. So if a couple in America goes anywhere in the world to adopt a baby or a child, that child is immediately a U.S. citizen. You can be born to U.S. citizens. So if my parents were living in another country when they had me, I would still be a citizen because my parents are citizens, and any children they give birth to are automatically citizens, irrespective of where they might be in the world when they're born. And the last way is to be naturalized. This is what immigrants coming to America need to do, the process that they have to follow to become a U.S. citizen. So you can become a citizen rather quickly if you have close family members here, or if there is a certain job that there's a shortage of here, and you have that specialized training, you'll get what's called a green card, and it's rather easy for you to come and become a resident here and then work your way towards citizenship. But for many people, you have to wait 10 years or longer to get this green card that many people want. So once you got here, you've got your green card. Now you want to become a citizen. You have to be at least 18. You have to have lived in the United States for most of the last 5 years. You have to be able to read, write, and speak English. You have to demonstrate good moral character, which basically means don't get arrested and found guilty of any serious crime. You have to demonstrate a knowledge and understanding of U.S. history. The citizenship test is not easy. Many American citizens would have trouble with many of the questions. You have to demonstrate your loyalty to the U.S. Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, and you have to be willing to take an oath of allegiance. All right, so that's a rundown on old, new, and modern immigration. Some of the terminology you need to understand, and a little bit of the experience of some of the immigrants when they came here. You should be able to answer these three questions that were displayed in the beginning. Here they are again. If you forgot to write them down, give it a try. And if you can't answer any of them, just watch the video again. All right, so now what happens with all my videos, you're so good, you paid attention. Now it's time for a corny riddle. What do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear. Thank you for watching. Please come back every week or I post another video. Bye.